In the khutbah, I mentioned the concept of jihad amongst the Muslims, and it is agreed that jihad in the sense of fighting is not for political ends. Jihad in that sense is to maintain people's freedom of conscience and religion and to be able to exercise that. So, if a government tries to put limits on that, then an armed struggle against that government is lawful. But then there are other considerations. For example, do Muslims have the means to actually carry out the jihad, or are they going to put themselves needlessly in danger and not achieve anything? The Quran says, don't put yourselves in danger needlessly. And of course, it is universally agreed that the third condition to be observed is that not everyone can just declare jihad and say this government or that government is doing something un-Islamic or wrong, so I am going to fight it. But a Muslim government or a ruler has to declare jihad. Now, having said that, I want to share something with you. If you go to the Topkapi Museum in Istanbul, it used to be the palace where the sultans and the khalifas lived, you will be surprised to find an order of Garter. Well, this is an ancient acknowledgement of British monarchs' friendship with certain people, including foreign monarchs. And you will find that in 1856, this order of Garter was granted to no other than the Sultan of Turkey, who also carried the title of the Khalifa of all the Muslims. The system at the time was that the Islamic world was a little bit like the British Commonwealth. Just like the Queen is sort of nominally or technically the head of state for Canada and Australia and New Zealand and so on, although she doesn't have much power there. In the same way, Khalifa was the nominal head of all the Islamic countries. So, for example, when that mighty emperor came to the throne in India called Akbar or Jahangir or Shah Jahan, they would write a little letter to the Khalifa together with some presents and an ambassador and say, "Dear sir, we wish to rule India in your name." And although of course they were independent emperors, they were emperors in their own right, the Khalifa would write back and say, yes, fine, or in today's terms, good on you, mate. Not that it would have mattered. If the Khalifa had said no, it wouldn't have had any effect. But nominally, the Khalifa was the head of state for the Mughal Empire in India. Now, in 1856, what had happened was, British had arrived in India. Mughal Empire was very weak. It was beginning to splinter and split, and they took advantage of that and they defeated Muslims throughout Sunni Muslim rulers and established their own government or state. In 1856, things were very bad, and people of India, Hindus and Muslims alike, were fed up with the British rule, and they started what's called the Indian Mutiny, or as we call it, the Indian War of Independence, to try and throw out the British. And this mutiny, a war of independence, ended in defeat for the Indians when in 1857. So while the Sunni Muslims in India were fighting the British to gain their independence, the nominal head of state, the Khalifa in Turkey, was actually receiving an award from the British monarch saying he is my best friend. Now, according to Islam, these are the rulers who are supposed to declare jihad on the non-Muslims. And the non-Muslims were saying to them, you are our best friends. Well, you might say, well, this is sort of theoretical. Turkey is a long way away from India. How was the poor Khalifa sitting in Turkey supposed to help the Muslims in India? Although I would say to you that when Kemal Ataturk, I think it was in 1919, abolished the so-called caliphate or khilafat and set up a secular state, Indian Muslims rose up in droves and led demonstrations and what have you to try and have the same khilafat re-established that had betrayed them. But anyway, I take your point that Turkey is some distance away. How would it attack the British in India? How would it provide means of support for any rebellion or fighting in India? But Iran is next door to India. It borders India. And the king of Iran was also given the Order of Garter, the medal for friendship with the British monarch. And this didn't just happen once. One Khalifa was given this order in 1856. Another Khalifa was given this Order of the Garter in, I think, 1873. In the same way, one Iranian king was given this Order of Garter, this sign of friendship, and a few years later, I think in 1903, his successor was also granted the same status by the British. So where are these Muslim rulers who were going to fight for the independence of Indian Muslims? You see, it's okay to try and deny your history, but it doesn't advance your cause. You can pretend that all the Muslims, they were all ready on their horses, ready to go and fight the British Empire and gain independence and convert everyone to being a Muslim on the point of sword. You can pretend that, you can close your eyes. But just because a parrot closes its eyes when it sees a cat approaching, it doesn't mean to say that the cat is not going to eat it. And this is what we are doing. We are living, our Sunni brothers are living in a dream world, and they were coming up with these ideas. Here is a concrete example. The Order of Garter, if you want to see it, is preserved in the museum in Topkapi Palace in Turkey. If you can't be bothered to go to Istanbul, then simply type in Order of Garter in Google search and see what comes up. Go to Wikipedia and type in Order of Garter, and you will see that what I'm telling you is the truth. It is important that we know and understand our own history, because without doing that, we cannot move forward. And there is no point in living in a land of dreams, thinking about these great warriors who were going to attack European powers, and only Mirza Ghulam Ahmad stopped them.